Which one do you want to go through? Do you want to just set 3, or do you want me to give you the more elaborate process?
Let's have the more elaborate.
All right. Let's hope I can remember it then. So, on a short runway, up to 6,000 feet long, Boeing tell us go maximum auto brake. On a slightly longer runway, 7,000 feet, 3, 8,000 feet, 2, or 9,000 feet or above, 1. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the runway length. It could be the stopping distance, because we might want to stop halfway down the runway.
Yeah.
But we'll assume that it's the length of the runway today, just for ease.
Yeah.
So now you need to know the length of the runway at Gatwick, don't you? So down here, if you press menu, go to FMC, and then approach. The length of the runway at Gatwick is 10,883 feet long, so it's a long runway.
Yes.
So which auto brake setting would you use?
Let's use 1.
Yep, so set 1. Now there's a modifier to that, which is depending on the weather. So when we looked at our METAR, if we'd have seen it was raining, then we know we're landing on a wet runway.
You can use your thrust reverse.
You'd have gone 1 extra on the auto brake. You would use thrust reversers, yes, as well, but we'd go 1 extra on the auto brake. But we know it's a dry runway, so the minimum amount of braking will work.
Yeah.
Now, that's why Boeing give that guidance, because you imagine a 30-year life cycle of this aircraft.
Yeah.
If we can brake minimum rather than braking at 3 every time.
Tear, isn't it?
Exactly. So over the years, it's going to save the airline a fortune.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's why we want to try and use that process if we can.
Yeah, sure.
Right, what's next?
Landing data.
Okay, so we need to set our VREF speed, so that's our landing speed. So down here, if you select the flap 30 option, just there, and then pop that in this empty slot.
What, 146?
Yep, just pop that there.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
So we can now see our landing speed is 146 knots.
Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me. Landing's 146 knots, but we add 5 knots onto that for wind correction.
Yep.
So we're actually going to land at 151 knots.
Yep.
So that's our VREF.
Yep.
And I think there's one more thing to check. VREF minimums. So that's the minimum altitude that we're going to fly down to on the instrument landing system approach before you have to look out and actually see the runway.
Yep.
Right, so there comes a point where we have to look out and see the runway.
So it's your decision speed.
Decision altitude. So the decision altitude, it's exactly the same thing as minimums.
Yes.
Means the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You remember a lot, don't you? So we can see here that our decision altitude at Gatwick is 296 feet above sea level. It's only 100 feet above the runway.
Right.
So it's not very high.
No.
So we need to set 296 in there.
Okay.
And you do that with that dial.
I just noticed my QNH is wrong now for some reason.
That's
was it 296?
296. And then your QNH is the other one. It's that one there, so you set that 1012. It should be.
Yeah. It went to 1013 for some reason.
Okay, no problems.
Where on the display does it tell you how many track miles you've got to the destination? That's one thing that I've not worked out yet.
Yeah. So if you zoom in here, we've got 40 miles to that point there.
Okay.
If you go down to progress here, well, it doesn't show very well on your side. 82 miles.
Right. Okay.
Yep. Okay. We're doing all right, aren't we?
Yeah.
So that's our before descent checklist complete.
Yep.
So if I take that, it's busy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
On a short flight like this, honestly, there's no time to think really.
No.
We're almost at our top of descent. So if you go to legs now.
Yep.
So we can see by the time we get to Midhurst, we need to be down at 12,400 feet.
Okay.
By the time we get to this one here, Holly, we need to be down at 7,200 feet. By Mayfield, 4,000 feet. So again, there's the way that Boeing tell us to do it, and then there's the way that it's done in the real world. On this instance, we're going to go the way it's done in the real world, which is a bit of a quick and dirty way, but it's just the way it's done for real.
Yep.
Is we know that our initial altitude, our platform altitude is 2,000 feet, so we need to descend down to 2,000 feet before we intercept the ILS.
Yeah.
So what you'll do is you'll set that down to 2,000. Now what Boeing tell us to do is we step down on each one. So on each one we just drop it down manually.
Right.
But you're going to be too busy to do that in a couple of minutes, which is why we're just going to set it right the way down. And what we're now going to do is we're going to tune it in everything for the instrument approach. you mind if I just check in with you? How are you doing so far? You okay?
Loving it.
Good. Right, so my iPad's playing up. So the frequency for the instrument landing system approach at Gatwick is 110.90, so you're just going to set that there. 110.90.
110.90. Yes.
That's it. Now push transfer to put it into the active frequency.
Okay.
I've done the same thing my side. We're now going to set the final approach course 257 degrees just there. And everything else we've already set.
Yeah.
Because we do a really good job of setting the airport elevation.
Yeah.
And we've set our minimum, so everything else is all set now.
So, just as one question, if I may.
Yeah.
We've changed that to 257.
Yeah.
That's not changing now, though. So why is that not? How does the autopilot know to not change that now? Is that when we reach
that's a really good
a certain waypoint?
Yeah, so what that was is we were actually setting up our approach for the instrument landing system.
Yes.
So, are you familiar with how the ILS works?
Not, in terms of the crosshairs, yes, but everything else, no.
Okay, so think about it. On the side of the runway, you've got basically a radio station, and that radio station pushes out a couple of radio waves out in front of the in front of the runway.
Yeah.
One part is called the localizer, so it's a left and right track.
Yeah.
And you can see it on this chart here. Look.
Okay.
There's the runway, there's our left and right track, that fan coming out.
Yes.
Now, to fly perfectly down that runway, so we're perfectly lined up the runway, we need to fly on a course of 257 degrees.
Yes.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
So we're telling the ILS there that, we're telling the aircraft that when we intercept the ILS, we want to track towards it on a course of 257. If we set 270, it'd be over here, wouldn't it? We'd be trying to come in over here.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So that's what that is.
Yeah, it's not that one that I've changed. It's
that's
that one.
Right.
That's why the autopilot.
So heading is the heading where the aeroplane's going.
At the moment.
At the moment, the course is our inbound course for the instrument landing system.
Okay.
Yeah, really good question.
Yeah.
It wasn't a silly question. It was a really good one, actually.
It confused me.
No, it shows that it shows you knew exactly what you were talking about, really. So that was great. Right, I've got a bit of a choice for you now.
Yeah.
I'm just going to zoom you in. So we're descending now.
Yes.
Down towards here's Gatwick, so we're going to do this big turn all the way around.
Okay.
Now there's two ways that you can handle the rest of the session.
Yep.
I'm going to give you the options, you choose what you prefer. There's not a right way or a wrong way, it's just what you fancy.
Yeah.
Option one is you might say to me, Steve, can we carry on doing it exactly as it's done in the real world?
Yeah.
In which case, we'll leave the autopilot on, we'll let the aeroplane fly around here.
Yeah.
We've got some more checks to do.
Yeah.
We'll let the aeroplane line up with the runway, we'll get it configured, and at the last minute, when we get to about 1,000 feet, you'll take control and manually land.
Yeah.
That's option one.
Yeah.
Option two is you might say to me, well, look, I've come here to have a go. So I'd like to take control now, and I'm going to manually fly it all the way around here and land it myself. In which case, that will be going back to the job of keeping the nose on the centre of the cross.
Yeah.
So, which one do you prefer the sound?
Let's try the second option. Let's try and manually fly it. Right. I know it means I get less chance to look out the windows, but
I thought you might. Well, you came to fly it, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
So, in preparation to take it off autopilot, if you put both hands on your controls again now, get your eye back to looking at the cross, and it's all about keeping the dot on the centre of the cross.
Yeah.
And when you're ready to take control, I'll probably wait for it to roll level.
Yes.
Let's just let the aeroplane roll itself level.
Yeah.
To take control, you're going to click that button with your thumb twice.
Okay.
The first click gives you control, the second click will cancel the alarm that you're here.
Yes.
All right.
As for the descending, that'll all take care of it, well, just for as long as I follow the crosshair.
As long as you follow the crosshair, you're going to make a perfect approach and landing,
I know I've just increased my workload 20-fold, but hey.
You have, but I'm glad you did it.
But realistically now, if I can... My next waypoint, so to speak, is approaching soon, isn't it? So I can expect the next descent to...
it's not for another 17 miles yet.
Holly? Okay, so I thought it was
Holly,
down
you're going to turn left, and then it'll bring you around onto the runway,
So for now, it's going to be just, a case of...
Just try and keep it
keeping it straight and level.
That's it. Now, as you're doing what you're doing, you're going to see me doing various different things here.
Yep.
I'm really just doing my good job now as your pilot monitoring.
Yeah. Sure.
So my job is to take as much pressure off you as I can by managing everything inside the flight deck.
Sure.
Because you don't want to be reaching down for buttons and...
No, and you'd be on the radios as well at the same time.
I'd also be doing the radio, yeah, you're absolutely right. So with that in mind, I'm actually going to run through our ILS preparations now. So I'm just checking we've both got the correct frequency set for the ILS, checking we've both got the correct courses set, checking we've both got the correct minimums. We were slightly out on those, so I'm just going to reset yours for you. That's it, there we go. And then I check to make sure we've got the correct QNH set for the altimeters. So that's all okay, so that's our ILS preparations complete. We've just come through 10,000 feet, so I'm turning the landing lights on.
Seatbelt signs.
And seatbelt signs, well, would have automatically gone on, wouldn't they? Because we set them to
yes,
auto.
To auto, yeah.
But I've set them to on anyway, so I've just done that correctly anyway. But if I'd have forgotten, they'd have automatically come on.
Yeah.
You're 2.8 miles now from Holly.
Yes.
I'm just going to zoom you a bit on your navigation display, just so you can see what's coming up ahead. I don't know why, but we've just lost our...
Yeah, I thought I was
display,
expecting
haven't
to have a left turn.
Yep, okay, let's take over. So,
okay,
just make that turn. So the good news is when the system goes wrong, there's always a backup that we can use that we don't have to worry about. So I'm just going to manually vector you around now onto your final approach.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really weird. I've never seen that happen before. But that just goes to show, though, that an aircraft is only a machine.
Yeah.
Sometimes the machine goes wrong.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't know why.
Yeah.
We just need to be ready as pilots to intervene.
Yeah.
And come up with a backup plan.
Yeah.
So what I've just done there is I've just drawn a 10-mile circle around the airport.
Okay.
And I'm manually putting your heading there.
Yeah.
So that I'm going to vector you in for a 10-mile approach.
Yeah.
So for you, the job doesn't change really. Just keep your nose on the centre of the cross.
Keep the crosshairs, yeah.
That's it.
Will it be a ILS approach, ILS landing then? rather than VFR.
Yeah. So what you're going to be doing is you'll be following the instrument landing system right the way down to minimums.
Yes.
Which will be 315.
Yeah.
So you'll hear the aircraft say approaching minimums, and then it will say minimums. I'll also call minimums.
Yeah.
When you hear me say minimums, you're going to look out, but then don't look back down at your instrument.
Right.
So you're either looking in or you're looking out. So at minimums, it's look out. The runway should be dead ahead of you at that point.
Yes.
And then you're just going to visually drop it in.
Yeah.
But at that point, you're literally going to be 100 feet above the runway. So
it's going to be a very short
look out. It's going to be the last couple of seconds. Yeah.
But at that point, there's no need to change anything that I'm doing or anything like that because I've already got the angle of descent.
Exactly,
correct,
the aeroplane should be on a perfect approach. Now, the big thing that you're going to find with this is, when you were flying before, you flare, don't you, before you land?
Yeah.
With this, don't flare. Okay. Really try and resist the urge, because if you do, what will happen is the nose will come up and the aeroplane's got that much inertia, it'll immediately start climbing again.
Okay.
So it's a bit different to a light aircraft where we pull the nose up and then plop it onto the ground.
Yeah.
With this, as you come into land, when you hit minimums, the aeroplane will already be configured.
Yeah.
And it'll just be a question of just final corrections, just guide it down to the runway.
Yeah.
And I'll bet you that you still flare.
Yeah.
Because I know you're a real pilot, so I know you will, because everybody does. You kind of instinctively do it.
Yeah.
It's something that you need to sort of train yourself out of when you start becoming a jet pilot.
You're still a current pilot now then, Steve, as well, are you?
Yes, I've got a commercial pilot's licence, but this is my full-time job, actually.
Yeah.
So myself and Nick, who you saw earlier, we're here all day, every day in the sims. I love it, actually.
Yeah,
I really enjoy it.
It's absolutely incredible.
Okay, you're doing really well. So just keep on it. Now everything's going to happen relatively quickly now, because in a minute I'm going to give